And speaking even further of RPGs, if there's one thing I'm always looking for, it's a good console RPG, because I was actually a really big fan of the Final Fantasy games, like on the Nintendo and SNES, Chrono Trigger, that type of thing. And so, usually when there's a new RPG announcement, I'm pretty much all ears. Unfortunately, most RPGs are not that good. And it took me a while to figure out why, because I was playing games like, what was it, Eternal Sonata, and Star Ocean, and I hated those games. Like, really, really hated. Like, if I thought there was a lot of excess and really long cutscenes and boring dialogue, bad characterization, Final Fantasy VIII, like, Star Ocean is terrible. I have no idea why people find that series so enthralling. It's not good. It's boring, and it's so god-awful long that I can't believe it has fans. Honest to God, I'm not trying to pick a fight. I can't believe it has fans. I could go, man, I'm not going to go on about that. But, point is, the only RPG series that I've pretty consistently enjoyed was the Shin Megami Tensei games, which, again, you wouldn't think I would like. And I have pretty much all of them. Well, actually, no, I don't. Seriously, no. I'll retract that right now. There are so many Shin Megami Tensei games that I have most of the modern console versions. And I've only played a few of them, but I've played the major ones. The most classic one people will talk about is Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, which is it's still widely regarded as one of the best. And truth be told, it is, but I have a lot of conditional statements on that. For one, this game, it kind of feels cheaply made, in the sense that the setting is really dead. It feels like there's no activity going on anywhere you go, and you might argue that's the intention, but for instance, you start off in, like, I think it's a bus station or a subway station, and it's just empty. There's, like, no music, nothing. It kind of feels like you're running around one of those, like in the old Ultima series, when you're just running around like a wireframe dungeon and there's nothing there. There's no music. It's very empty and shallow, and the graphics don't look that good. And I'll tell you the truth, the story is very minimalistic, but it gets awesome by the end. I mean, really, really good. And this is probably one of the hardest games, RPG-wise, that you will ever play. And it feels so rewarding when you finish this game. I do have complaints, and some of these complaints stretch throughout the entire Shin Megami Tensei series, and I'll get to that now. The first is the fact that you kind of have to learn a different language. Like, I don't know if these words are in Japanese or what, but it's very hard to get used to the fact that none of the magic spells are named properly. So, for instance, if you have like a fire spell, that's called Agi, and then there's the ice spells, which are Bufu, and the lightning spell is Zio, the wind spell is Garu, and that is so hard to get used to. Like, you'll learn it eventually, but when you get these spells, you're like, Bufu? What? Bufu? And there's Mabufu and Bufu Lao and just like the various levels of the Bufu spell, and like every spell is like that, and it's really, really hard. When you get hit with a spell, it's hard to know what you've been hit with. Like somebody hit with a spell called like Dikuja or Tarukaja, and you'll be like, "What the fuck was that?" You don't know what happened to you, or like Rakunda, and you basically have to go online and look for an online guide just to find out what the hell the spells do, and you will do this so much. The main complaint I have against Shin Megami Tensei is the fact that it's only hard because it's unfair. For instance, you will run into bosses quite often that will hand you your ass, and it's not because you're playing badly, and it's not because you're playing with a flawed strategy. It's because more often than not, there is exactly one way to beat every boss. They're weak, and because they have weaknesses, and the only way to beat these bosses is to really whore out their weaknesses and not be susceptible to their strengths. And the only way to do that, really, is with a strategy guide. It's possible to do it where you kind of play it over and over and over again, continually losing until you figure out what exactly you need to do. But that is so frustrating. And it's, like I said, like you'll run into a guy who's like a fire demon. And when I say it's unfair, is your first inclination towards these fire demons and that kind of thing will be to cast ice on it. But of course, most of the time these guys aren't weak to ice. They'll be weak to like light magic or wind. And you're just like, what? Why? And this happens so often wherein like within even like a half-hour period of gameplay time, you will have to radically change your demon Pokemon loadout to deal with these impossibly balls-hard monsters. And it's virtually impossible to play this game without literally having a printout of the strategy guide in your lap to know where you need to go and what you need to have to fight these bosses, especially when you start running around the Hell Labyrinth. There's this gigantic labyrinth that you have to go through and to fight the biggest monster and get the best demons to summon and things like that. I have no idea how you're supposed to do that without a strategy guide. None. And to me, that is not a good game. When you are forced, in fact, you are helpless without having this guide in front of you. And in fact, in that regard, it seems like a really strange recommendation to me. The fact that I loved the ending to this game, and yet it was agony. Abject agony getting to that point. You really need to have big, round, hairy ones if you want to fight through Shin Nocturne. The second game I played was Digital Devil Saga, which is actually 2 games. And I'll tell you, I was really, really into this story from the beginning. This was a really fascinating... It was almost like The Matrix, only The Matrix told well. And I don't want to spoil it too much for you, because it really is rewarding to play through these games. It's a long series of games, but it's also a lot of fun. And most of those balance issues I mentioned, where you needed a strategy guide, are gone. You don't really need a strategy guide for this one. In fact, I think it plays rather logically from beginning to end, and it rewards good gameplay, and there is some strategy, and it's strategy you can figure out. I thought it was a lot better that way. However... And actually, you know what? I am going to spoil it for you because my biggest complaint is the ending. And it's so weird. You're so into this game, or I was, and then you get to the last boss, where you have all these questions that need answering. There's like this evil corporation that's been extracting life essences, and there's like this gigantic sun that turns people into salt. And you're like, wow, this is really bleak and bizarre and apocalyptic, and you're really into it. And then, really, I can't remember that much about it, but you go up into outer space because basically you have to fight God, or I think that you have to talk to God to find out like what the answer is, how to fix the world. My memory is still a little sketchy about it, but really, you go up there and you see God. And God is, I'm not kidding, like a 200-yard pillar that's just floating out in space, kind of like a really weird monolith in 2001. And one of your characters goes like, God is speaking to me. He wants us to fight him. And then you have a fight where you fight God. And it's not anywhere near as interesting as you think it would be, because the pillar consists of 4 sections. And those sections are fire, water, wind, and lightning. And when you face the fire section, you use water. When you face the ice section, you use fire. And it's really boring. And there's no reason for it. God is just like, hey, you want to fight? And you guys are like, all right. And you do. And the game's over. And nothing really has been resolved. Your guys just kind of... Everyone's dead, and your guys kind of run around going, well, that happened. You want to go home? And then they do. And they've killed God! You know, I so didn't understand that, especially with such an uninspired derivative, the same kind of final boss we've seen in countless games. That was such a letdown. That would be like if Neo finally met he finally, you know when he sees the architect Like, if all of a sudden he just, like, teleported into this room where the architect is supposed to be, and he's just, like, a pillar. And then Neo is like, you want me to fight you? And then, like, it's a 4-section pillar where he has to, like, throw ice at the fire section, and then he's like, then he kills it, and then it's over, and Neo's like, I won, I think. And then just goes home. It was so weird. Like, really big let. It was almost like the writer, when he got to the final chapter, had no idea how to end this thing, so he quit and went home. And then, like, the intern was like, we could fight, like, a gigantic pillar. I don't know. One game I played, like, 10 minutes of, and I never... it didn't grab me that much, and maybe you guys can tell me more about it if it ever gets any better, but it's and this is the most fucking ridiculous title ever. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raidu Kunzoa versus the Soulless Army. This is very Pulp Fiction-y type titling, but it's... I don't know, man. This game is... Part of the reason I didn't like this game is because it has real-time combat, and for some reason when I'm playing an RPG... I don't like real-time combat. I like turn-based. I don't know. For some reason, I don't like my RPGs having twitch reflex things in it, which is... I don't like timing puzzles and things like that. Not necessarily. And this game... I think it has M. Bison on the cover. I don't know if you can see that too close. Of course! I do like the little foily, shiny thing, but... very strange game. Tell me about this game if it's any good, if I'm missing something here, because... I was not blown away by this. Well, I didn't give it that much of a chance. This game, Persona 3 Fez, is another one of those games that everyone really, really seems to like. And I'll tell you the truth, it's growing on me. But it takes a while. This game has virtually no storyline up until about the halfway point. And I think I'm just reaching the halfway point where the story is starting to take shape. And, but until then, the only story you get in this game is the fact that all of a sudden your character is going to high school, where he suddenly realizes that there's an hour between midnight and 1 a.m. There's like a hidden hour that nobody else can see called the dark hour. And only a very limited group of people can experience this dark hour. Everyone else is turned into like a coffin. And during this time, demons run around and they fight you. And... the only way he can fight them is by summoning, like, a demon persona that lives within himself by, like, pointing this gun-shaped object at his head and pulling a trigger, and this demon comes out when he does this. It doesn't kill him. But you do this a lot. Like, you're pointing a gun at your head, like, so often. It's like the ultimate emo fantasy, where, like, you're just constantly killing yourself over and over again, and everyone does this. And... in almost every Shin Megami Tensei game, it ends with you climbing an enormous fucking tower. Like, every game does this. All of them, where you climb a giant tower. In fact, I think it's kind of unoriginal that way, where, like, the entire game is just based on, like, hey, there's a tower full of demons, let us climb it. And you do this, but this game dispenses with even the rudimentary plot. You just run into this building where you meet other people who can summon demons, and they're like, hey, you see that big tower? Let's go climb it. That's the story! And what makes this game unique is the fact that you also have to deal with your character progressing through high school, and you have to make friends and go to classes. Kind of like Bully, but without the fun part. And so you have to also maintain your academics, and doing so will help you, like, as you make friends and improve your skills and stuff like that in school, that improves your ability to create new demons. They get more experience points. And it's really, really strange, but it's interesting at the same time. Although I think it goes on way too long. Where you just kind of wish you could start fighting monsters and not have to experience class. It really starts getting into a tedium where you're trying to juggle like a dozen different friends, trying to keep them all happy. You've got, like, a girlfriend character who you once you start getting a girlfriend, you can't see anyone else, so they get pissed off. And it just seems like you're doing a lot of muddling around, not doing a whole lot. When it comes to the combat, again, you're dealing with that really weird language spell. So people will be like, cast Bufu! Or cast Mudo. You don't know what Mudo is, do you? Mudo is the death spell. what I don't like about this game is the fact that it kind of cons you into playing for a long time between save points. And you got no one to blame but yourself when it comes to not saving, because you should... It kind of dangles these little return to base points in front of you, and you'll always pass them by. But for some reason, there will be a time when, like, even a really easy encounter will just hit your weakness. Like, every demon you have attached to you has a weakness. So, like, if the demon attached to you has an ice weakness, all of a sudden you'll run into, like, one guy with an ice spell who just butt-fucks you with this ice spell over and over and over again. Then you die, and you've lost, like, 45 minutes to an hour worth of gameplay, and you are fucking pissed off. I hate that. Like, it is so frustrating to lose an hour worth of gameplay in this game because one guy took you out, and it was just, like, really bullshit, you know. And what I hate about this game most of all is the fact that the game is over if the main character falls. If anyone else falls, you can keep going, but if the main character goes down, it's done. You're over. Game over, return to base. And it sucks. Especially with so many ways to revive a character. I don't get why the game is over when the main character dies. Just, like, there will be other characters with raised dead spells or Phoenix Downs. They call them revival beads. But, like, just have one guy throw this on your main character. He gets up. What's the problem? I don't understand why that happens. Especially when several monsters in this game throw the Mudo or Hama spells, which have a low chance of causing instant death. If you're gonna throw instant death spells, don't have the game be over when your main character is hit with a spell he has no way of defending against. That is bullshit, okay? And I got hit with... I lost an hour worth of gameplay because one fucking... It was called like a lunatic book through the Mudo spell. My guy dies, and that's it. There's like no save. It's just he just falls down. Game over. Too bad. I've ordered Persona 4. I don't know why I did that. I got Persona 4 cheap, and I don't know why, because I'm actually getting really frustrated with Persona 3. Although what's funny is now that I'm this far in, I'm kind of invested in it. Like, I'm kind of interested in the story now because there is one. So I feel kind of rewarded that I've stuck with it this long. And I kind of want to see how it ends now, because there's something about the tower of Shin Megami Tensei. You're always like, I gotta see what's at the top of this fucking tower now. It's gotta be fucking awesome. And it's always the devil. And you gotta fight the devil. And then you gotta fight God after you fight the devil, because the series is very dark, and it's very atheistic, and that it sees God, hates it, and wants to kill him. But I have not touched Persona 4 yet. I know there's a sequel to Devil Summoner, and I saw that and I was like, I didn't finish the first one. I don't want to play that one. It looked like the same game. I know there's a ton of... I think they were on the Game Boy Advance. I haven't touched those. I've heard those are pretty good, though. A lot of these are a very Japanese series. If you couldn't tell by the title, they're kind of Japanese import, and that's why I said Nocturne felt cheap, which was probably not the right word. But it really feels like one of those budget title Japanese import games where it feels like it was only half translated, and it kind of explains why there's no story. It kind of seems like there was a story, but they didn't want to translate it, so they cut it. Nocturne's only story is like you're running around and the world ends. Just that day, the world is over, and you're in the bus station going, whoa. Why am I here? And you don't know why you're here. Like, you've been spared. But, like, there's literally, like, demons all over the place. And for some reason, when you beat them up, they serve you. It's like demonic Pokemon, like I said. But, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to ramble about the Shin Megami Tensei series. And I want to understand... I think the reason I made this video is because I want you to tell me part of what attracts you to the Shin Megami Tensei series. Because it's kind of a mystery to me. I kind of get it, because I will admit it's strangely addictive, and I want to play more of Persona 3 at least, because it actually is kind of interesting to me, but at the same time, it always seems to me like, in these series, there's so many decisions that don't quite work. Like, the going to school thing was interesting at first, but it gets really tedious. Or the really bare-bones story in most of these, and... I'm just interested, like, what you think about Persona and the other games in the series. Like, if they get any better, or if you disagree with me on Nocturne, because, seriously, if you were able to get through Nocturne without a strategy guide, you are the fucking lord of all RPGs. Like, that's it. You need to get into design work or something, like, just do tournaments, because that's fucking unbelievable if you can get through Nocturne without any kind of help. I don't buy it. Like, in fact, if you tell me that, I don't believe you. I would need to see a playthrough, like, of you in front of a TV doing this thing. If you could remember the weaknesses for all these bosses, that blows my mind, because it's not fair. And I don't know why I stuck with it for that long. I remember running into this monster about a fifth of the way through, called Matador, and I couldn't fucking beat the Matador. And I had to go online, and even with the guide, I had to spend like 2 days just leveling up and beating enough monsters where I could... You can combine monsters to make a third monster, like a completely different monster. I had to do this for like 2-3 days just to get the right mix of monsters and spells I needed to beat this motherfucker. And you have to do this for like every single boss. That game is hardcore. Balls of steel, man. If you can beat that game, even with a guide, balls of steel. I think that's why I did it, just so I could claim that I did it. Even, like, I'll admit it, I had the guide in my lap the whole time. Like, I wouldn't even look at the screen half the time. I was looking at, like, monster combination matrices. It was fucking nuts. I don't know, and yet I was really hooked. I love the ending to that game where, like, you go to hell and you meet the Satan, and the Satan is like, hey, you're really good, and we're kind of forming a team to go beat up God. You want to join? And you're like, yeah. I don't know why you go, yeah, but you're like, fuck yeah, I got a demon. And like, I am a demon. Like, I eat demons. I can summon fucking, like Ares, the god of war. That's like my Persona 3 character can summon Ares. It was awesome. And actually, I think that's a big plus for this game, is you can summon Satan. And I think in this game you can summon Satan as well. He's a really high-level devil, but... at some point you will be able to summon Satan. And, like, how often can you say that? Like, I played this game and summoned the fucking devil. And that's awesome, I think I just answered my own question why these games are awesome. Like, they're not that good, the story's kind of weak, but you summon the fucking devil, and he kills people for you, and I can't argue with that. Alright. But yeah. If I was going to check out any of these, I would probably check out Persona 3. That's probably the most accessible. Also, like I said, it's kind of a weird demon summoning / social networking game. Kind of strange, but yeah. Like I think the biggest plus I can give this game is the fact that if you played this, you will definitely see something you have never seen before in RPGs. It's very unconventional. And that counts for a lot in RPGs. And it's turn-based. Can't complain about that. It's not like that fucking Lost Odyssey game, which... Lost Odyssey is turn-based, but that game is fucking boring as day-old shit. Alright. I'll probably find something else to talk about. Like I said, I'm really chatty today. See you next time.